This week on the podcast, I'm joined by an old friend, Marjorie Rogers. Met Marge through real estate. She was an agent for a while. I'm a loan officer, and she's someone I always hit it off with. Always enjoyed the time that we spent together, whether it was working or just having a cup of coffee or just chatting about whatever's going on in our lives. A lot has changed over the years. Marjorie has downsized her life, and she's living the RV life down in Arizona right now. And fortunately, we've stayed in touch. My life could not be any more different than hers. I have 3 kids, still grinding in this business. And in a lot of ways, I'm really jealous and happy about what Marge is doing down there. And I thought it'd be a good idea or a fun idea to have her on the podcast to talk a little bit about that, what the thought process was into making that decision and getting rid of your belongings and just moving across the country. So she has some great stories, great advice to share. And as always, I really enjoyed talking to her. I have a feeling a lot of Marjorie friends will be checking this one out, and I think you'll really enjoy it. So this is the Randy.forcier podcast. If you're new to it, if you could do me a huge favor and subscribe on Apple, Spotify, or YouTube, that'd be awesome too. If you're watching on YouTube, give the video a like. That would also help as well. Trying to grow this thing. I think this is episode 93 right now, so working our way to 100. Want to try to get as many people listening as possible. So appreciate the support. Thanks for checking out the pod. Here's Marjorie. All right, I'm sitting here with an old friend of mine from the real estate business. So glad to have connected in the years past. She has done something I'm very jealous of, and that is downsized, living a minimalistic lifestyle at this point. Is that how you would describe it?
Yeah, definitely.
So I want to hear all about it. Thought process,
Okay.
what it's like. Super jealous. Hope to do it at some point. So you'll be the first person I really dug deep into it with.
Okay. Thanks for doing this. This is fun. Yes. A year and a half ago, my husband woke up one day and said, I'm done. He's like, I'm done with this property. And I said, well, let's sell it. And we did. So we started that downsizing then. But in the middle of COVID, I had a client call me and say, sell that property. I'm not going to build a house on it. I'm going to buy a new camper. You should buy a camper. And I never thought of that. I mentioned it to my husband and said, how about a camper? And because we're not going to go anywhere. And in the winter, we bought a little micro mini Winnebago, and we took that thing all over the state of Maine and went everywhere. And we were like, okay, this is really fun. And we were camping. I mean, 22-foot camper. And I'm not a tent camper. We've been there, done that. So then we start pulling this around. We find a seasonal site. And when you hear that term, that means you can park it there. Like we could be there from May to October and have that set up like that. Well, then we realized that's just kind of like having a camp. And so let's go get a bigger unit and let's go get a bigger rig. So we went and did that, and we got a 5th wheel. And for those who don't know what that is, it's the hitch is in the middle of your pickup truck, and the bedroom part is what is up over the pickup truck. So if you see those, they're very cool.
What's the 5th wheel aspect of it?
That hitch is gigantic.
Okay.
That's really what they're thinking. So we get a bigger rig. It sits up on the coast of Maine, fall in love with that, fall in love with the lifestyle. And then my husband lands a remote job, and he's like, I can work from anywhere, and let's take off. And that was a lot because we do have an apartment. We got rid of a lot of stuff. And for people that have never taken on that task, it was hard. I had great help. I still have stuff.
What do you mean by help? Encouraging you, going through stuff, finding the right things to keep, and the right things to get rid of?
I was rooted. We had been at that property for over 20 years, and I had a lot of hobbies and stuff and cookbooks and big kitchens, and I had everything. And it was time to let go of some of this stuff. And I think all of society is kind of dealing with that anyway. Either you got a parent that's passing, or people are inheriting stuff. They don't want it. So what do you do with it? Fortunately, the guy who bought our house, he scored. A lot of stuff came with the house, and we were glad to do that.
One of the ways you handled it was to just pass it along to whoever bought your home. Were there certain things that you did keep and are storing someplace just because they mean something to you? Are there things that you sold because they thought they had value to them, but ultimately gave a lot of it away?
Right. I donated the shelter, and the cat shelter in Wells really
Hmm.
scored. I tried to
Hmm.
divvy up like that. Our neighbor raced right over and bought our Kubota tractor, like that
Hmm.
second. And there were things like that. We still have stuff. I don't have a storage unit. We're on the fence about getting one,
Hmm.
but just, yeah, I had a lot. It's hard. You have to
Hmm.
really, really cull through your stuff. And for some, it's really emotional.
Definitely.
We're attached to our stuff. So we got into a cool apartment. I actually like apartment living. It was a nice,
Easy.
it was like, wow, this is easy. And then my husband said, hey, why don't we take off for the winter with our camper? And I said, so where are we going to go? And he's like, how about Arizona? And because we know this is a big mountain bike community,
Yeah.
and we pulled it 3,000 miles,
That's awesome.
but there's a lot to learn.
Yeah. So this is
This
the
isn't
first.
camping. I'm not camping anymore.
All right. I just wanted to take 1 second from the podcast to let you know that besides hosting, I also do mortgages. I'm a residential loan officer with Norcom Mortgage in Saco, Maine. If you or anyone you know is thinking about buying a home in 2024 or refinancing as rates are coming down, please feel free to reach out to me and I'd be happy to help. My contact information is in the description below. Thanks, and back to the pod.
Let's
It's
people
like
are
your
like,
lifestyle at this point.
this is a lifestyle.
Mhm.
I mean, that rig next to me there's one behind me here is probably close to $1 million.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're not camping.
Are these people that you're surrounded by people that are in your same situation, like maybe have worked a career for a while, had a bunch of stuff at one point, had a house, and now this is like their version of downsizing? Instead of moving into a little
It's
condo, they're on the road.
this could be like a whole sociology project. This is a 40 plus park,
Yeah.
which is cool because so the demographics, a big age group. There's actually 5 people here from Maine. A lot
Randomly,
of
right?
yeah, just
This is
randomly.
like
Yeah.
by chance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Traveling nurses,
Mhm.
lot of those here. A lot of people that one is retired and the other one's working remotely. Lots of I'd say the average age is in their 60s, and
Yeah.
we've met a ton of. So when I say full timers, these people don't have a house,
Yeah.
and the thing you have to figure out is what's going to be my primary resident and how you're going to figure all this out. But I've met people. There's this one couple. There's a lot of people from Colorado here. They literally
Yeah.
just had a house built in Durango, Colorado, and they finally just stayed in it. They've been renting it, and they're like, it was weird. We want to go back to our RV. There's people that sold
So funny.
everything. I know. They sold everything, and this is how they live. They go back and forth. There's people that are work camping, meaning that they're working at the RV park when they're there. Then there's just retirees, but
Mhm.
this is a very active community, and that's what I like.
Yeah, and I actually do want to hear more about that, but I do have this thought about the decision to make this change. Like, did you hem and haw about this? Because it sounds like Joe got a job, or maybe push things along. But is this something you really struggled with, or you were just like, you know what, let's do it, and went with it? Or was there a lot of like back and forth internally?
Back and forth because, yeah, there was. It took me a while to get used to the idea, and when you're RVing, if you're moving every day, that's
Mhm.
really hard. You're exhausted. And and the other thing we learned on the drive down here, we had a 400-mile day. We will never do that again. You're pulling
Yeah.
a rig like this, and you got to set up and you pack up and that kind of stuff. You learn quickly that you do 250 miles a day, maybe spend a couple nights, but then we're taking 9 weeks to come back to Maine.
Yeah, so really taking your time. So 250 miles is like from where we live in Southern Maine, or where you guys lived in Southern Maine, to New York City, probably, right? Is that it? Like a 4.5 hour ride? But I
But
mean, you're
that's
probably going,
six. It's 6 hours in a rig.
yeah, because you
That's a
are
6 to 7 hour day.
staying right lane, maybe going a little slower. Are you filling up? How
Six.
often are you filling up gas? Now we're getting
We
to
can
like weird
get.
logistics, but I'm curious about that
Well,
sort of
no,
thing.
we
I guess if you're
spent
just towing it with a truck, but like I'm sure your gas mileage is way down.
10, 10,
10, yeah.
10.
So
That's good. That's a good day.
yeah,
One day we had an 8 day, and but you budget for all this stuff.
yeah,
And
totally.
that's why moving around, like you see, I know there's all these famous YouTubers that are RVers and what they do. And I think they're pretty transparent with the lifestyle. You, yeah, and you like to stick around, and we've been here for 5 months, but I can tell you we're both ready to move. Like, okay,
Yeah.
let's go. It's time to get back on the road.
So let's talk about this park that you guys ended up in. Why did you pick this one? Is this something like part of your planning? You had heard about this one, you found it online. Is there like a website you go to for these sort of things? Like, how'd you end up at this one?
So there's a website called RV Life. It's awesome. There's so many, like any niche now, there's an app for it.
Yeah.
RV Life has this thing called Trip Wizard. You plug in your destination, how many miles you want to drive, and it just it lays out
Maps it all
here's
out.
RV parks, maps it all out. So we have
Mhm.
RV Life, Trip Wizard, but then you go in and you read reviews, and we all know that you pick the middle of the reviews. We
Mhm.
kept reading the reviews of this place that it wasn't like, it doesn't have a ton of luxury perks here. I
Mhm.
mean, some of these RV parks are like staying at the Ritz.
Yeah.
This one kept saying it had a huge mountain bike community. So right behind me is the Tucson Mountain Park, which then abuts the Saguaro National Park.
Yeah.
So I literally hop on the trail right here. We ride our bikes a little ways, and we're over right next to those gigantic saguaros and next to the national park.
That's awesome. So do
Yeah,
you do that every day? Most
almost. Yeah,
days? Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, I would
yeah.
too. I mean, that seems like the reason you would go to this place,
It
the
is.
mountain
And
biking piece. Like, you
oh
must have
yeah,
to have some interest in mountain biking to stay at this particular one.
Joe and I've been doing that for 30 years. We've been
Yeah.
mountain biking. The last 10, not as much. And it just but the riding here, we literally got here. We had brought our gravel bikes, which are
Mhm.
like beefy road bikes. I
Mhm.
walked out onto the trails and said, we brought the wrong bikes, and we went and bought 2 new mountain bikes.
Why? What
Because
was it?
you
What
need
was
a
different than you were expecting?
because I needed bigger tires. I needed full suspension. I needed that. You just needed that beefy thing. A
Yeah.
gravel bike has the drop bars like a 10 speed.
Mhm. Yeah.
So
So you guys do that. What's like a normal day in RV life? You know, we were talking off air. It's like you have these 275 square foot RV. You live a lot of your life outside, right?
hmm
It's just
hmm
get up and then most of the day you're kind of hanging out outside, a little bit inside to eat and clean and cook and all that stuff, sleep.
I've been spoiled because I get to like go to yoga class and go hiking with some friends. But there's the joke with all the RVers, you spend your day organizing. You can't let the chaos take over,
Hmm.
small space. It's like everything's, and it's not constant, but you're constantly like making sure everything's tidy.
Yeah.
And, today we'll go ride. Joe's been working. It took a while because it's like, oh, there's not a lot to do, but then there's enough going on here at the park, and then it's becoming part of the community. And some people
Yeah.
don't. Some people you never even see.
So is the like when you say you go to yoga, is that part of the community or are you going into a town for that?
No,
Okay, so
it's
it's
all
all
there.
on site. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
So
oh my God, there's all kinds of different things, and it's just you pick and choose what you want. There's people here that have been coming. There's one of our friends. This is their 13th winter here.
yeah.
And people come back, and because you find it's more about your friends and who you find, and
Mhm.
you do make fast friends in this lifestyle, but you all have a lot in common to start out.
Of course. Yeah, you must have, I'm sure a lot of people share that love of mountain biking and hiking and being outdoors, but also must
Yeah,
have a certain mindset type person to like live in an RV in general or minimalize their life. So when does the winter end for you? If you're going to make a 9-week trip home, is that, you mean you must have a few more weeks left? Is that basically what it comes down to?
yeah. We leave in a couple weeks, and
Yeah.
then we'll go to northern Arizona, stay a
Mhm.
week, and then we'll work our way over to Santa Fe, stay a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Then we head back down to Bentonville, Arkansas, spend a week. We travel on the weekends, and
Mhm.
then Joe, he worked. If everyone wants to know, we have Starlink. That's the internet.
I was going to
That
ask about
is
that.
That's been the game changer for a lot, this whole world. That's been
Because
the
there
game
was no
changer.
solution for this before Starlink. Was there commercial
Mm-mm.
satellite internet prior to Starlink, or that's the
No,
first
people
show
would
and tell?
just hot spotting, a lot of that. And then the parks all have free Wi-Fi, but you can't rely on them
I'm
if you're
sure. But
working.
even hotspotting, is cell phone signals even good?
Yeah.
They are.
Oh
They're
yeah.
decent enough. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not like
Yeah.
you're totally off the grid, remote.
No. No.
But that is
We're not.
nice. It makes it so people can work remotely, and you can
Hmm.
stay in touch with your friends and family. And it's nice to have a
Hmm.
solid internet connection like Starlink. How much does Starlink even cost?
So
Is that
$150 a month, and
yeah?
then say you're going to park your rig and store it and not use it, you turn it off. You can
Yeah.
turn it on and off like that.
Yeah. So as you are approaching the end of this winter down there, what are your thoughts for next year? Like, have you already started to plan? Yeah, are
Hmm.
you going to go
Hmm.
someplace else? Are you going to do it any
Hmm.
differently than you did it this year?
We're probably going to come back here.
Really? Okay.
Um,
So you
yeah,
do really like it,
yeah,
and the friendships are
yeah,
solid, and all that stuff.
yeah, yeah. Matter of fact, we had a little cocktail, little happy hour to say goodbye to people that left this morning. And there were people there that met in Washington on a trail. They hooked up here to ride. There's a park next to us. They were from that park. They met these other people in Texas. They were taking off to go ride in Texas. And and keep in mind, we're talking ages of 40 to 80. The guy behind me is 80 years old and he rides
Yeah,
his bike every day.
it's awesome. Stay young, stay
Mm-hmm.
active, get that blood flowing,
Mm-hmm.
heart beating.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. You know, what have you learned that you would do differently? Is there anything particular, or nothing? You're happy with the way it's gone so far since you've started this adventure?
Be patient.
Mm-hmm.
Get comfortable with downtime. It's quiet. And yeah.
I think of my life now when you say that, and it's just like I got my kids. We talk about that and how crazy that is, and the business that I'm in, how crazy that is. So it's like if
Mm-hmm.
I don't even
Mm-hmm.
know what I would do if I just kind of sat around and didn't have to worry about all that sort of stuff. It would be quite a shock, but
And there's
kind of nice.
maintenance, for your own waste management.
Yeah,
It's like you're dealing with tanks every day. And, we have full hookups here, which
yeah,
means we have sewer and water and all that, but you still have to manage that stuff. And I think what I've picked up with other people here, if they're couples, both sides pay attention to what's going on, or you should. Like I drive, Joe
mm-hmm.
drives more when we're
Yep.
towing, but both parties should know how to do everything,
Mm-hmm.
because if something happens, we have our pets, our cat's with us. He's a pain in the ass, but he's with us.
No big deal though.
And
You let them out.
no,
Okay, I
he's
was gonna
got it.
say like they're like
He
snakes and scorpions and stuff out there.
Yeah, actually, today I expect to start seeing that stuff because it's pretty warm.
Oh, and that's the thing that you see more of when it's especially warm.
Yeah, we've seen one snake, but they hibernate. They definitely
Oh,
hibernate, and now they should start coming out. Which,
jeez, bro. So, what
yeah,
do you do when you come back to the Northeast? Your
um,
apartment. You said you've held on to your apartment. Like, what does
yep.
this type of lifestyle translate to back for a full summer
We
in the
thought we
Northeast?
were going to continue on and live in this full time, meaning we would have put everything in storage, get rid of the apartment. We
Mm-hmm.
would have parked this somewhere in southern New Hampshire, Maine, kept on it, but we decided we're going to take it back to our seasonal place up in Brooklyn
Mm-hmm.
and just kind of have a weekend getaway and keep our apartment in town. And we still have a lot of family, so we get a lot
Yeah.
of things with that. But you're traveling, you have your house on your back, so it's kind of cool. You have all your stuff.
Yeah.
And, the trip back is going to be a lot of traveling, but also, I can't wait to be by Santa Fe again. And we're going to be in Kentucky, and we're going to spend 2 weeks in Gettysburg. We used to live there. So we have
No kidding.
all of our old mountain biking friends are there. So that's what we'll do.
That is so nice to just be able to take your time though, and 9 weeks of traveling across country, just stopping for a week
Mm-hmm.
here and there, and really just
Mm-hmm.
reconnecting with people. And I think it's such a cool thing. Now,
Yeah.
have you ever thought about getting what's the word? Like more of like a Winnebago type thing, one that you can drive. I don't know what the right
So
word
the
is for that. Is
Class
there like a
A's,
disadvantage to that sort of thing, or
it's this constant, like, is that one better? Is that one
Yeah.
better? And we don't see them up in New England because of the roads, but there are a ton of Class A's, which are the big, like tour bus.
Tour
That's
buses.
that's a
Yeah.
Class A, and
You
a
don't see
lot of
those
people
around here.
no, because I've
No, because
learned
like
from
I
all
feel
the
like that would stick out, and I feel like I only
you
celebrities
don't
have those sort of things or something like
right.
but like normal people have those in that part
And
of the
there's
country.
normal people. Once you cross into like the South and out here, they're everywhere, and they all tow a car. So they call
Mhm,
that a toad. They call or
mhm.
a dinghy. They'll tow their car, and we try to go back and forth of like what is better. But with those Class A's, they're cool. The people that love them, they love them because when they're traveling and they're on the road, you don't have to open the slides. Like I'm sitting in a slide right now. When we're
Okay.
traveling, this section gets pushed in. When
Yep.
we're traveling, we can use the bathroom in the bedroom, but it's you can't use the rest of the camper.
Why is it a
But that
process to undo that thing?
not on the road it would be because you have to be level, you have to
Yeah.
be parked, so you don't just pop open a slide
Yeah,
when
it's not like a
you're
button and it just kind of
no,
levels
it
itself
is,
and all that
but
stuff.
you don't do that in a rest area.
Yeah.
So those people with the big Class A's, they like them because they don't have to put their slides out. They're heavy, but you're dealing with a diesel engine. They call them diesel pushers.
Mm-hmm.
So they're
The
cool.
gas mileage must be super limited on those things too, like even worse
It
than
is.
the
It's the
trucks.
same. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the
Is it?
same. We've danced around with it, and after going through it all, it's like, nah, this works. And for New England, it's easier to tow something.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you're really setting up shop where you guys are in Brooklyn when you're back home and then there when you're
Hmm.
there, I feel like the mobility is probably one of the better aspects. That, like you said, it's just you don't have to. You can use the whole thing when you're on the road, so it's probably better for like more of a touring type scenario where you can just
Right.
drive around the country. Would you ever want to do that one winter instead of what you're doing though? Like that aspect of like going to different places, going up to Washington, Oregon, or down into California or anything like that, where it's more of like a winter of touring around the West, or you
Yes.
think you'll always
It
want to stick
just
around?
no. This is just. I think it's because of Joe's work schedule. We got all these places up north we want to do, but then it's weather. It's I'm this Tucson is the Florida what Florida is to the northeast, Arizona is to the northwest.
Everyone
It's like
retires there or escapes their
or
version of
there
whatever
for the
winter they
winter.
have.
I mean, it's
Mhm.
Washington. There's the amount of people here from Canada is crazy.
I bet. Yeah.
And yeah. And so no, we want to go up to all those places, but I think that's going to have to wait just because
Mhm.
we can't go in the summertime. I don't want to go in the summertime and in the fall. So yeah, but we've already planned on possibly next fall going to Moab, going to Utah, and then
Yeah,
dropping down here.
that'd be incredible. So at this point, are you retired?
If you
Yeah.
ask my
Yeah.
husband, yes. If you ask me, no.
Or is that just like you're just winging it? Like you're not sure. I mean, not
Well,
opposed to.
yeah,
It's not like you'll never work again somehow or another. But like
yeah,
this is kind of
yeah.
retirement for you, right? Or like an early retirement, or
It is, and one of the things that I've really have enjoyed in the last couple of years is helping people downsize and helping
Mhm.
people figure this out and help share that, or people that have had estates and parents and getting rid of stuff. I mean, that's something I've enjoyed doing and helping people. My colleagues that are going to listen to this are like, what is she doing? Yeah, I can refer things out, but real estate's been really good to me, and I'm having fun.
Well, good for you. Yeah, who knows
Yeah,
what the future really holds with the whole
yeah,
thing. I like the
yeah,
idea of you being a resource for people that are looking to downsize
yeah.
and part ways with some stuff that isn't easy. Is that something you think is like a business opportunity for you, or just something that's more like a passion, but side project thing ultimately?
It could be a side project thing. I don't. I just would want to help people and give them that
Mhm.
direction. I've met people that try to do it all in the moving, but I like coordinate. And I love this about real estate is like how you connect. I got a mover, I got a guy. That's the
Yeah.
joke. I got a guy for that. And if someone's like, I'm trying to do this and understand that sometimes you need a dumpster. Sometimes you need to just let it go. And we didn't have to do a dumpster, but I've been in situations where the family's like, what do we do? So yeah, but this is a fun life. It's been a huge adjustment, but it's it's been a lot of fun.
Do you have like any blanket advice for people that are thinking about doing this sort of thing with their life, where they're just like, you know what, I'm hitting the road, getting an RV, going down to Arizona, going down to wherever? Is there any advice besides like the be patient thing? Is there anything that comes to mind?
Call me. Give them my email. It depends on the people, you know. It depends on the couple, and if you fight all the time, this isn't going to work. You
Yeah, it's gonna be
know,
brutal.
you're living in tight quarters, but you also learn each other's space. You need a budget. You need to know what it's going to cost. You know,
Yeah.
and that's the other thing we did. And you need to pay, because like if we went to a campground every single night, it would cost a fortune. But when you do these seasonal 5 months,
Yeah.
this month, this is, you pay a different rate.
How do you even begin to budget that though? Like, I guess you can budget knowing the seasonal cost. That's like the fixed expense, and then you do the internet, and you try to make assumptions for gas and all that. But does anything sneak up with you on you on that? Like,
If anything, it would be if a truck repair, you know, we all drive big trucks
mhm,
and take care of all that stuff because that's, you know, you take care of your rig. We have to be back in New Hampshire on April 29th to drop off our rig to go over.
mhm,
And we'll put 6,000 miles on it. And so that needs to be taken care of. And they're not, I mean, they're light. They're not made super well. So you got to take
mhm,
care of it. So I think people need to be planning on if something happens, but then like the Good Sam Club and that's the other organization. Like I have pet insurance. I have insurance if something happens to us, they'll fly the dog home. I mean, all that stuff's in place. I mean, people have been doing this for years. There's
mhm,
an organization called Escapees. They've been
mhm.
around for 45 years and they cater to full-time RVers and they help you set up a domicile. They have a mail forwarding service. And then now, since COVID, they have escapers, which are people working on the road. And they really cater to full time RVers.
If the community aspect of it seems pretty appealing to me,
It
kind of like
is.
finding
And
your people out there. You know?
it is. And, you know, there's some people across the way. It's just like having neighbors. I've never really
Mhm.
talked to them. But,
Yeah.
you know, it's like, hey, and everyone respects their space,
Mhm.
you know.
Do you see any
So
families out there? I know you have, this is a 40 plus park, but are there communities of families like my type of family, with kids that are
there,
all,
I've been
12 years
told
old
in
and
the
younger? Yeah.
escapers group, there are quite a few. Most of them are homeschooling. I think they would
Mhm.
have to.
I don't know any other way to do it.
My joke this morning was because most people have seen a camper toilet. It's pretty
Mhm.
straightforward. It's pretty
Mhm.
straight down. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my God, little kids would be throwing shit down here all the time. They would be breaking this thing all the time. That was our
Seriously.
joke this morning.
Seriously. That's so funny. Yeah, I can't imagine being out there with the fam, but I'm sure some people do it and
They
enjoy that
do.
type of life. It's a little bit different than what you're doing, but it's just another way to live, which is
Yeah.
interesting to me because there's no
And some
right way to
people are
do anything.
pulling gigantic rigs. I mean, they're pulling 45-foot trailers. That's a huge rig.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's just,
So that's
and it sounds
ours is,
expensive. Like 45
it is.
feet. It's
It
just,
is. There's a new company called Brinkley.
uh-huh.
You'll have to look them up. They're Brinkley RVs and they're
Yeah.
fifth wheels. They're gorgeous. They're $187,000. So you
Yeah.
think, now as a realtor, I was like, okay, this is another house payment. You're buying something, and we've seen them out here. And most of the people are full timers, they're retired. But when they say, this is our house, I'm like, okay, you know, and there's some people 2 doors down, they cashed out. They sold their big, gigantic house in Texas and bought a Class A, and they
Yeah.
live in it full time. They're on their fifth year of doing it. And it
Yeah, but a
doesn't, the
class
people
A
behind
must
us,
be like 250, right? Like,
for a good one, and
yeah.
that's a 10-year-old one, Randy.
Oh wow. Okay.
That's
So
a
new ones
that's
are
a
like
ten
half
year
million,
old.
million bucks.
Oh, yeah, easy. That and up. If you look up Newmar, you know how people are on Zillow all the time. The same
New
thing
Mars,
happens
like,
in the RV world.
yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
once you're into that world, you start, like you said, things catch your eyes, and you start questioning if you want to upgrade or not. Yeah, there is some like
Oh yeah.
equivalency between those two things.
Yeah. We had to talk ourselves out of it because we were like, nope, what we have works really well. It works really well.
But that just
So,
kind of gets back to budgeting and stuff. If you want to do this, if you want to like keep life simple and
right.
not force yourself to have to make these financial decisions that you don't want to, just like stay within your means. And
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, exactly. But if people want to know, I mean, there are YouTubers. When we got here, it was pretty funny. We were just got here. We walked down to the dumpster to throw something away, and there's this woman standing there. I'm like, I know you. I'm like, I know you. And Joe was like, what are you talking about? And she goes, do you watch YouTube? And I was like, oh my God, it's you. She's really famous in the YouTube RV lifestyle
yeah,
in the whole world. She will not review this park because she doesn't want anyone to find it.
yeah, which makes sense. Yeah, as soon as you throw that
Mm.
out there, I know how that YouTube stuff works. I mean, all those
Yeah,
people
look.
in any given community that they're in are very influential. That's why they're
Yeah.
influencers. So
Yeah.
throw the name of that place out there. People that are following her, like
Yeah.
whether it's 10,000 people, 100,000 people, 1,000,000 people, like people will show up just because she
Yeah.
mentions that sort of thing.
But this is we're half an hour to downtown Tucson. So like the food trucks show up out here. The market for the locals, there's a bike repairman that pulls in here every week. If people need their bikes fixed, he's right here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that makes
yeah,
sense.
exactly.
I just
Yeah. There's a
come to.
cheesecake truck.
I bet you it's awesome. I'm super happy that you're enjoying it out there and that you kind of took this step and just kind of went and like zigged when everyone else zags. Most people just
Thanks.
kind
Yeah,
of
we
grind
did.
through the normal
We did
stuff.
big time.
And yeah, I think you might be the only person that I personally know that just said, you know what, let's just call it good and get an RV and go. So
Yeah,
I'm happy
we
that it's
did.
all working out so well.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So, and I'll be sure to direct anyone over to you that needs help downsizing.
Yeah.
Is that
Minimalizing. Yeah. I actually, we need a new word for it, I think.
It's a
I think we
mouthful.
need a new word for that, and we need a new word for retirement. Because when people ask me if I'm retired, I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm busy.
Yeah,
So it's a weird, the what people vision of that is kind of a weird thing.
I picture like retirees like sitting on their couch watching Price is Right,
Right.
and that's not what you guys are doing. And
Right.
I mean,
There's a
Joe's working.
73-year-old woman here that she kicks my ass on the mountain bike. Just, yeah. Why did we get a thumbs up?
I have no freaking clue. That was weird. I was just going to ask you, for anyone not watching this, like a big thumbs up thing just popped up on Marge's screen, so that was very strange. But anyways, that's probably as good a time as any to end it. But thanks so much for sharing the story.
Absolutely. And yeah, what a treat. Randy, you were like my first lender I ever worked with, and helps me do a lot of math that I never could understand.
Hey, we had a good run, and it's funny. One of the best things about this business is just the kind of relationships that you make and all that sort of stuff. So
yeah,
it's definitely the part I enjoy the most of it. So we definitely had a good run,
Yes, for sure. Yeah.
So
and then we'll find a new run.
Yes, we will. And podcasting,
Yes, I love it.
So, all right. Listen, thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
We'll be in touch,
I appreciate it.